Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, there we go. Let's get rid of that. Morning, everyone. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hopefully, you're all awesome and well. Had a good weekend. See a few of you on already now, which is awesome. Hey, good morning to Kevin. Morning, Tim. Aaron, shout out to you. Linda. Up and at it already, folks. Good to see on this marvelous Monday. Marvelous Monday, Magic Monday, whatever it might be. I'll do the quick sort of warm-ups while everyone's sort of jumping on. If you didn't already know, most of you know this already. Jason Witten's my name. I'm sure you do. But if you don't, if you're brand new, if you're popping by, you found us accidentally, or you've joined one of our coaching and mentoring programs, which is awesome, and you're in the mentoring group, then welcome along. Yeah, Adrian, absolutely. Big night tonight, folks. Make sure you got it in your calendar. Every fortnight, every 2 weeks, we do coaching and education for our mentoring group, our mad, keen property investors. And tonight will be no different. And we're going to have a great night tonight. So make sure you make it along. Morning to Melinda and Gemma. Yep, awesome. Pumped. Excellent. All right, well, listen, let's get into it today. I thought we might talk about something that I always like the idea of understanding ourselves as property investors and really working out how we make decisions. And I've got a question for you, a little bit of a question. And maybe we'll sort of answer it a bit later on together. So get ready. I'm going to sort of get you to help me out this morning when it comes to this conversation we're going to have. But as an investor, from where are you making your decisions from? And I put that in the title today. Do you make decisions to be an investor from the past? Either successes in the past or failures in the past? Are you making decisions right now? Oh, the interest rates are so high, I shouldn't invest. Or more importantly, making decisions for the future. And this is what I want to dive into today and have a little look at maybe how we can sort of deconstruct, understand things for us as property investors and sort of see what we might be able to do. When it comes to that stuff. Tim is already in there straight away. Decide from the future for sure. Can the past, the present help us with the future? Yeah, sure. And we'll have a little look at that today as we dive into it. So let's have a bit of a nudge. Let's get into it today. Let's have a look at what is going on. How do we look at this? How do we see what's going on? And maybe make a little bit of an understanding of what is going on. All right, well, let's do this. Let's break it down into a few sections of the real estate market, right? What would we look at? How would we treat these different sections of the marketplace, or well, not the marketplace, data, information coming our way. All right. So value. How do we analyze value as a property investor when it comes to understanding information, understanding things that are going on, right? So value and valuers. Like now, value. Who do we usually ask what something is worth, what the value of something? Put it in the chat, folks. When we're going through to buy a property, we go, is this property worth it? And there's usually three parties involved. Let's do this. Let's work out who is involved when we often get involved in buying a property and say, hey, what do you think this property's worth? Who are the three parties? Who are the three people involved? Yep. Now, the bank for sure asks this other person, Brendan. Yep. So the bank asked this other person. Yep. There we go. Tim's onto it. And Brendan, you're right in there as well. Let's have a look at what do we do? Today, in the present, we want to have a look at, hey, what's this property worth? Who looks into the past? Who looks from, let's say, on the edge of today into the past? And usually they look between 3 to 6 months into the past. The valuer will look into the past. They look backwards on what this property is worth. And they let the bank know if in the future you have to sell this in a hurry, then, here's what we reckon you could sell it for, okay? The valuer looks into the past, folks. Who's the present? Who's hanging out in the present going, hey, I'm aware of what's going on in the market today. Who is that? Tim's onto it. The real estate agent. Usually between the last 30 days and the next 30 days, plus or minus 30 days. Boom, Tim. And who has to look into the future? Who decides the future value of something? Who decides the future value of something, ladies and gents? It's a rhetorical question, I suppose, but you do. You, the investor. The investor has to make a decision about the future and what things can make an impact on that future value. Really are these things here, all right? So let's have a look at how do we as an investor look into the future and have a look at these things, how they're going to affect us and our properties and our decisions, all right? And where we might be able to find this information. Let's talk about finance. So you as the investor, let's just be really clear, you have to make those decisions. You have to be comfortable. And the future, what's the time frame, folks? Put it in the chat for me. The time frame, I'll put it right here for you. This is a time frame of 15 to 20 years into the future. All right? Not 1 year, not 6 months, not 3 years, 15 to 20 years into the future. That's how you have to look at property investing. Along the way, yes, next year, if you can't pay the mortgage, you're going to be in trouble. But you should be able to understand what those numbers are. You've got buffers. If you've got a coach, your coach will be helping you through that, right? And you shouldn't be buying things you can't afford. Some people do. So let's have a look at this. Good question, Brendan. They give a range, right? Unfortunately, the banks usually use the mid to bottom end. They very rarely use the top end. Of recent times, though, Brendan, once every 5 to 8 years, the cycle pops up and, we get valuations over and above what people purchased their properties for. Usually mid to low end. Brendan, good question. All right, let's do this. Finance. What happens? Who looks into the past when it comes to finance? Who looks into the past when it comes to finance and says, all right, what's going on? Who looks into the past? Well, the banks look into the past. And why do they look into the past? They want to see if you have a what? Tell me. The banks look into the past. They want to see if you've got a good credit. What credit? They call it a credit. Anyone know what it is? Credit history. History. The banks look into the past and they say, all right, have you been paying your bills for the last couple of years? Are you a good bet? Yep, credit score, credit rating, credit history. Right, boom. The banks look backwards. The banks look backwards. And maybe you had shit for months last year, but right now it's going late guns. Will the bank, depending on who you are and what you're doing, will the bank care? No. Well, you should know. You've got to have how long of clear, clean, data for the banks to move on from the past. What's the time frame? Well, it depends. If you're an employee, clean, clear time frame of 3 to 6 months, okay? And if you're a business owner, needs to be 12 to 24 months before you're clear and clean from the past, which means your present shows up as this is it. This is today. Who's the people who look into the present? Well, that's your broker. That's your loan writer, your broker, your finance broker, okay? They'll analyze everything that's going on today, hopefully make a good argument for you for the future, and away you go. But ultimately, the lenders, mortgage insurers, LMI, lenders, mortgage insurance, they are looking into your future because it's not the banks. The banks don't care. Did you guys know this? The banks don't care whether you pay your mortgage on time or not. Matter of fact, they make more money out of you not paying your mortgage if you do, right? Because the LMI, they insure your mortgage, you pay for it, and away you go. Anyway, so that's how it works, folks. Look, the banks are looking backwards. The broker's sort of saying, hey, how are you going right now? And the insurers and others are looking forward, to work these sorts of things out. And what else do they look into the future? What other things? The LMI. And they look into the future with interest rates, right? Interest rates. How do the banks and lenders, mortgage insurers and brokers, how do they hedge the future? Your ability right now, what are they doing? They say, oh, we don't know the future. How do they make sure, or how do they try and make sure, folks, that you can afford this mortgage in the future? Do they say, oh, yeah, he's got a good job, or he or she's got a good job, they'll be right? How do they double down and triple down on that security for themselves? Not only do they add another 3%, right? So today, you could afford the loan today on the actual payments that are there, right? So you can afford it, but with extra 3%, you can't. And that shits me. That's a problem for us, all of us right now, okay? All right. Now, let's look at this one. Let's look at this one, which is the supply chain. How do we see what happens with supply and how we see the future, all right? And if we have a look at these things, there's 3 sections, there's 3 processes, there's 3 bits of the supply chain, certainly when it comes to construction, that we need to understand. What are the 3 bits? Does anyone know? Put that in the chat for me. This could be a bit longer today. I thought I could whip through these, but let's have a bit of a look. Supply. What are the 3 bits? The 3 bits are, let anyone know? 3 bits. Approvals. Approvals. Okay, what got approved? Anyone know? If we look into the future, what's going on right now, these are the starts, okay? Construction starts. construction starting. Construction starts. And what's the last ones? The last ones are completions. Completions, all right? Now, this is quite interesting. Building contracts, starts, approvals. What is the failure rate? What's the normal failure rate? Just tell me this, folks. What's the normal failure rate from approvals to completions? Does anyone know what that sort of often that normal failure rate in a normal market used to be? Anyone? I know there's a little bit of a delay in this, but it used to be, on average between 20 and 30% of approvals would not get completed, folks. All right. Now this number is significantly higher at the moment. I mean, check out a bit of this stuff. This is the apartments. I think I showed this the other day. Have a look at these numbers right now under construction, and you have a look at the significant drop in these numbers over the next few years when it comes to completions, okay? Over here, this is the supply chain where you have a little look at, what got approved, so submitted, approved, marketing, under construction, and then completed, okay? So if you have a look at these kind of like these numbers here, did it start under construction? You have a look at what those numbers are and the failure rates as we go through, okay? Now, let's go back to our little matrix. Let's have a look at rents. What do we think, or what are we looking at when it comes to the future? And this is an interesting one because you can have a look at the rents. What is the rent? How do we look into the past for rents, look into the present, and then look into the future? Now, this is a funny one to sort of talk through, but I'll give it a crack, folks. That when leases are renewing, let's say the whole of Australia, what's kind of the time frame of they're renting now? So the tenant is paying now, which is the past, right? So what are they paying now? It's not the present because that was 12 months ago. So what are they paying now? What is the lease renew to? Renew. And then in 12 months' time. Does that make sense? This was 12 months ago. This was 12 months in the past. This is going to be 12 months in the future. So we have, thanks, Tim, there's a 24-month lag when it comes to rents, right? Rents going up, folks, is my point here. There's a 24-month lag in what something's renting for now, right? So he goes, okay, it was renting for now, which was set maybe 12 months ago at 400. This is a real reset in Melbourne just recently, one of our clients. So it was renting for 400 in the past, and then all of a sudden it re-rents for 650, like literally on this day, and we won't know what the future looks like, or well, it won't show up for the future. So that could be easily 750 in the future. Is everyone kind of following along? I'm not really explaining myself well today with that one, but the point is there's a 24-month cycle of the past, present, and the future when it comes to rents. So right now, you might buy something, or you might look at buying a property that's renting from 12 months ago lease. You renew it now, but it will be more in the future. Some of the rents in Melbourne are going to double or close to double in 24 months, and people will be surprised, but it won't be a surprise. Anyway, there you go. Let's do the last couple and try and make sense of this. The population, obviously, what happened during COVID, what's going on right now, 50,000 students coming back into Australia. And what is the future plan for Australia, which is 200,000 new people per year coming into Australia, right? So we can have a look at that. And then jobs, there's a lot of jobs on. Now, how do we look in the past? You can have a look at unemployment levels. What's going on now? The lowest unemployment ever. Into the future. Plenty of work, plenty of infrastructure projects, plenty going on in Australia. So if we have a look at this, right, if we have a look at this, for all of us as investors, my point I was going to make today is that if you're here making decisions, it's a terrible place to make a decision. That's you don't make decisions based on this section of the market, ladies and gents. That is not for you as a property investor to make a decision on. There's two parts. This is where we need to make decisions based on our future plan, 15 to 20 years. First and foremost, do I want to own this for 15 to 20 years? And is it in the right spot at the right time for me? Okay. And then need to make sure in the now, can I afford it? Have I got my ducks in a row, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense because there's a lot of info there to make sense of. I was going to pull up a heap of data today, clearance rates, vacancy rates, asking prices, all sorts of things. But I didn't get through my matrix fast enough. Anyway, there you go. Maybe we bit off more than we can chew. Maybe I can do a little bit extra tomorrow on this. But there you go. Anyway, folks, Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted. Wealth Coffee Ramble today, maybe. Who knows? But tonight we've got mentoring on. Make sure you come along. And that's it for today. Monday, the 6th of March, folks. Done and dusted. You guys be well. Let's turn that one off. All right. All right, folks, that's it from me. See you tonight at mentoring. Make sure you get along and have a good time. I think there's emails and stuff coming out, so make sure you keep an eye out for those. All right, folks. Adios. Thanks for joining and join me tomorrow for another. Each day we do this at 8:10. Many of you know that already. So make sure you pop along. And if you've got any info or things you want me to have a chat about, let me know. Let me know. I'll have a coffee, see if I can find something about them and we can wax a bit of lyrical. All right, move on, Jason. You're just rambling now. See you, folks. See you tonight. See you tomorrow. See you whenever. Bye-bye.